Kitchen with Chef Helena. It's Wednesday, that means it's Hump Day with Chef Helena. It's 11:30 and we're getting ready for our Kids Cook lunchtime cooking class series, and today we're making risotto. So we're excited to have Chef Helena back in our kitchen. This is how many weeks? 4, 5?
6.
This is week 6 already?
Yeah, I think it's week 6.
Holy cow, time sure flies when you're having fun. So, yeah, I've seen from Facebook that some of you guys have had a chance to make the previous recipes that Chef Helena has taken you through in this cooking class series. But I think one of the favorites that I've seen online are the wontons.
Yeah.
So I've seen people making those multiple times. So apparently that's going to be a staple in some people's houses. So
Okay.
I know probably that parents have been making risotto for a while at home, but this is a really great dish for the kids to make because they can customize it, add leftovers, add the things they like. I'll let Chef Helena talk to you a bit about that, but I think it's a really great dish that the kids can learn to make and that mom and dad can enjoy for dinner too. So once you get the kids all trained up, maybe you guys can have them make you dinner once a week for your date night at home. So yeah, so Chef Helena is going to take us through her sweet spring risotto recipe today. And if you haven't had a chance to check out our Facebook events page, we do have Chef Dennis coming back tomorrow night, and he's making pork schnitzel with spetzel with a porcini cream sauce.
Sounds delicious.
So good. So I'm looking forward to that. But anyhow, welcome back to Facebook Live with Chef Helena. I'm going to let you guys get cooking. We've got 30 minutes, so I hope you've washed your hands. Hope you have all your ingredients ready to go. Have fun cooking, and welcome back, Chef.
Thank you, Angie.
Yeah, have fun.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that everyone's washed their hands up and they have all of their mise en place ready to go. This recipe serves, I've given you the recipe for one person and for 4 people. So if you're just making this just for yourself for lunch, there's the recipe for 1. If you're making it for a family of 4, there you go. It's really easy. It takes the same amount of time whether you're making it for 1 person or you're making it for 4 people. I'm going to double the recipe. So there's my math. It's a math class and a cooking class. I'm going to double everything today so Angie and I can have lunch a little bit later on. So make sure that you have everything ready to go. There is a whole bunch of stuff to do in the beginning, not a lot to do in the middle, and a whole bunch to do at the end. So while we're stirring and I'm discussing things with you, I'm going to show you guys about the different rices and all sorts of different types of options. So let's get started. And I always have my recipe here just in case I forget something. I've already pre-cut everything, so I don't have my cutting board or my wet towel underneath there. Don't have my chef's knife because I've got that ready to go. I've got a pot with stock in it, and it's already here, already pre-measured. Don't eyeball it. This recipe is pretty exact. I've got risotto. I've got some salt and pepper. The cream that I'm talking about is whipping cream, but you can use light cream if you want. So whipping cream is 33 to 36% milk fat, and lighter cream is 10 to 18% milk fat. I've got peas and corn, and I've got some butter as well. So all of our stuff here is ready to go. I'm going to start by sauteing my onions. So on medium heat, I think that in the recipe I put oil. You can use oil or butter. We're using butter in the end, but I like to use oil in the beginning. And there's not a lot of ingredients in here, so I'm using olive oil. I'm going to get a nice thin layer at the bottom of my pan. And I'm going to get my onions in there. So you can cook your onions from white to clear. Can you guys hear me okay? You can, so from white is raw, clear is cooked, and then you can keep on cooking it, and you can caramelize your onions if you want to caramelize them. Caramelization is when the natural sugars come to the surface of whatever you're making, and it makes them go brown. The more browning you add, the more caramelization, the sweeter your risotto will be as well. So maybe if you're serving this next to a roast chicken or some roast beef, you might want to brown the onions a little bit. You can add all sorts of different things, but this is the base to start with. So you're going to start hearing the sizzle soon. It takes a little while. So in this pot here, I have chicken stock. You can use chicken stock, you can use, actually it's chicken broth, not stock. Does anyone know the difference between stock and broth? Don't Google it, I'll tell you the difference. So, if you put bones, chicken bones, carrot, celery, onions, and other vegetables into a pot, you bring it to a boil for about an hour to two, you have stock. If you have salt and pepper into it, then you have broth. So we've got broth here. You can use veggie broth, mushroom broth. So can you guys hear those onions sizzling away? If I were going to be adding in garlic, I would add it in next. But garlic and onion don't cook at the same time. So this takes a little while. This is the foundation. It's like building a house. You have to have a good foundation in order for the house to stand on it. I'm going to add a little pinch of salt in right now. And the salt is going to help soften those onions. Keep in mind that our stock, or pardon me, our broth has salt in it as well. And I'm going to turn this on to about a medium heat. I don't want it boiling, I just want the liquid simmering. And these onions are going to shrink, so it looks like there's a lot of onions here. So this is 1 cup of onions, because if we need a half a cup of onions for one person, how much do we need for 2? We need 1 cup, so there's our math. If it gets a little bit too hot, turn down the heat. I'm going to put a tiny bit more oil in here, just a little bit more. And my onions are just about to start to brown a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. Add a pinch of black pepper time. I'm going to add seasonings in gradually. I can always add more salt, pepper, but I can't take it out. So my onions have gone from white to clear to they're just starting to brown a little bit. So now it's time to do the rice. I've got 1 cup of rice. And some measuring cups, this one here is 236 mils. I need 250 mils. So see, instead of it being leveled off, if you've ever been to any of the classes, we level things off. This one is heat. So that gives me my 250 mils, which is 1 cup. I'm going to add that in here. And I'm going to take my rice and just cook it for about 30 seconds to a minute. And the outside of the rice will go clear and the inside will be white. And that's when you know when to start adding in your broth. And I have a wooden spoon that's flat like this. It's easy to sort of scrape up those little bits. If you want to add extra flavor to this, you can add, if you're serving this with roast pork, you could add in your first addition of maybe apple juice to be kind of good. This would have a bit of a sweeter risotto. I'm going to add in, it's hard to see in the camera, but on the inside it's white, on the outside it's clear. And that is the signal to put a scoop of broth in here. It's going to sizzle, don't freak out. You're going to scrape those little bits, and you're going to give it a bit of a stir. And you want to make sure that you get all those little bits of rice that put into the liquid. And you're going to keep on adding in additions of liquid. How do you know when it's time to add it in? I'm not always going to be with you, but this video is going to be forever. So you can watch it over and over again if you want to. I'm going to wait until that broth is absorbed, and I can drag a wooden spoon through it.
Hey, Chef.
Yes.
I have a question for you. Do you know what this is? This is a risotto spoon.
Oh, risotto spoon?
Yes.
I didn't know that. We use that for measuring spaghetti. That makes one more.
This is a risotto spoon.
I didn't know that.
So the idea behind this and other cream sauces,
Mm-hmm.
aside from risotto, you can use it for cream sauces. The idea with the risotto spoon is that will create extra agitation while you're stirring it to make your risotto extra creamy.
That's really neat.
So there you go.
Thank you.
Now you learned.
Can I use this one?
taught Chef Helena some things today.
There you go. Every baby should learn. So, out with the old, in with the new. Ah, that's better. That's really cool. But I do have one of these at home. If you put your spaghetti into there, it makes one portion of spaghetti. So now, I'm going to take a look and I'm going to scrape the bottom. You see that there's no liquid? Now I'm going to add another addition of my broth. And I've got this liquid, if you can see here, it's just sort of, just a little bit steamy. So it's just starting to simmer a little bit. I'm going to go all the way around. And now this part takes between 18 and 22 minutes. So while we have this time, the two of us, or the millionth of us, I'm going to discuss a bit about rice. You have to use a specific type of rice. So, the rice that I'm using today, you can use either arborio rice or farmeroli rice. So this one's a little bit stiffer. This one here is a little bit creamier. They both taste really, really delicious. This is what you don't want to use. This is basmati rice, and I'll show you what this looks like.
Jeff, I'm going to adjust your microphone.
Okay.
Because I think something's loose. So I'm just going to...
Thank you. So, we're multitasking. I'm going to stir this. Don't forget to stir. You don't want to stick to the bottom. If you happen to have Teflon coated pans, use those. The pan that I had today wasn't big enough. I wanted to make sure that I made enough risotto for a couple of people. So, all the way around. And there's a proper way to stir. Do you remember how I showed you guys how to stir before? You go around and 8 and a wiggle. So around the world, I ate some spaghetti. There you go. And this way you get the corners and the center. And what's going to happen is that little bit of rice is going to get starchy and kind of milky, and it's going to make this risotto nice and creamy. We're still going to add delicious things into it. We're going to add a little more broth. So let me show you about these two different rices. This rice here is basmati rice. It's tall and skinny, which makes a fluffy rice. Great for Indian food. This here is Italian rice. Sometimes they even call this pudding rice. It makes things nice and creamy. This is what it looks like when you take it. Can you take a look at this and show everyone? So, that's basmati rice, tall and skinny. And this one here is risotto rice, short and fat. Short and fat will give you something creamy. Long and skinny will give you something fluffy. Wrong for this recipe, correct for this recipe.
The risotto rice also looks whiter in the center than the basmati rice.
Yes, definitely. The only thing is risotto rice and sushi rice kind of look the same. They're not. They taste different. You can't, there's no substitute. Like there's no substitute for me, no substitute for you, no substitute for risotto rice. So this is boiling a little bit too much. I'm going to turn it down. Because if it boils too much, what's going to happen is the water's going to evaporate, the flavor is going to concentrate, and my risotto is going to be salty. So we're going to keep on doing this. And once we're about 75% of the way, then I'm going to start tasting to see what it tastes like. I have the rest of my ingredients here. I have my corn. You can use either a fresh corn or you can use frozen corn. I've got peas. And this is where you can go crazy. You can do a roasted butternut squash, sauteed mushrooms, prawns, scallops, leftover roasted chicken from the night before, roast beef, grilled tofu, eggplant, whatever you happen to have. I have cream here. And this is going to be, we're going to add those in later because those are already cooked. This is our whipping cream, and I have some butter here. And we're going to do something called monter au beurre, which means melting it with butter. It's a French term, even though we're cooking an Italian dish. I have some roasted red peppers, and the only reason I have this is just for color. It's not in the recipe. It just looks nicer on camera. I have some Parmesan cheese. You don't have to add this in. And I have some tasting spoons. So, does anyone know, here's a little bit of trivia. You guys can Google this later. One of the most important pieces of clothing was made today, on May the 20th. And I bet you every single person that's watching has a pair of these. I know I have a couple of pairs. Next week I'll give you the answer. You guys could also Google it too. I would have been wearing mine today, but you wouldn't be able to see it. So there you go. If anyone's having a birthday during the quarantine, you can make them this risotto and they'd be very happy. This is perfect. Because today we're leveling up. This isn't a kid's recipe. This is an adult recipe. So I'm going to show you how to make something that mom and dad would normally have in a restaurant, or grandma or grandpa. This is pretty good.
Chef, Lori wants to know if you can use frozen veggies in your risotto.
Of course you can. Sure you can. Yeah. So they go in the last minute. This is frozen peas and this is frozen corn. So yes, you can. And if anyone has ideas for classes coming up, next week we are doing tacos. We're going to do fish tacos with a corn and black bean. It's really a salad, but you can use it as a salsa as well. Add a little bit more. And keep on stirring around. Don't walk away. In restaurants, big restaurants, what they do is they make this halfway. So if they're cooking it for maybe about 12 minutes or so, and then they'll finish it when an order comes in. But this is lunchtime. And if you're going to do that, if moms and dads are watching, let's say we no longer have all the social distancing, you've got 10 people over for dinner, you cook it for about 15 minutes, you put it onto a parchment-lined cookie sheet, and you let it cool, and when your guests get there, you add the rest of your broth in and you finish it off.
Chef, somebody asked if you can use, if you're only cooking for one person, if you can use the leftovers the next day, or if it's better to freeze it.
So I wouldn't freeze it. Rice doesn't freeze really well, but you could definitely use the leftovers. So there's lots of things. In Italy, they make something called arancini. And arancini means oranges. And what they do is they take the cold leftover rice, and they will take it. If you watch next week, I'll show you guys how to bread stuff. This is how you bread it. You dip it into flour, and then beaten egg, and then breadcrumbs. Make a ball, a rice ball, and you stuff it with something. You can put a little bit of cheese in the center if you want to put some cheese in the center, and then you deep fry it. And those are called arancini. It's like a snack food that they have in Italy. The other thing that you can do if you have leftovers, and if you're making it for one person, it makes a nice amount for one, but you can make a soup with it if you want to, and add extra broth into it. Kind of like an Italian congee. You could use it like that. I've also taken made it to like a little, almost like a little cake. So, like instead of having a potato cake, I'll make it like that and I'll fry it. And that's delicious. So you can use the leftovers. Keep on scraping. And adding your broth. You do not need to be standing here all the time stirring. You can stir, quickly go empty out the dishwasher, or have mom and dad empty out the dishwasher. But then you want to turn it on to low. But really, what do we have to do today? Except for eat some delicious lunch. And you can put different herbs if you want into it. If you're going to put it in dry herbs, we put it in the beginning, fresh herbs in the end. And I have some herbs from my garden. I'll show you guys what I've done in order to bring them to show you. I've taken them out of the garden. And I've put them into a wet towel. This is how you store herbs. And this here, does anyone know what this is?
My favorite.
Tarragon.
I love it.
So if you take one of my favorite sauces in the world, which is Hollandaise Sauce, you add this into it, you have Hollandaise Sauce. And a little bit of shallots as well. Tarragon
tastes almost a little bit licoricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like licoricey, maybe, trying to think. It's like parsley, kind of parsley and licoricey.
Yeah, some people don't like the licorice flavor, so I'd go easy on it if you're not used to it right away. And
We're just going to use this as a garnish for the top. But you can use parsley if you want. Maybe if you're serving this with salmon, you know what salmon's best buddy is? Dill. You can have maybe little bits of roasted lamb in here, and you can serve a little bit of rosemary with it.
Lots of fresh chives in the garden right now would be nice in there.
Delicious. And then that would go in at the end. If you put it in the beginning, instead of it being bright green, it would become a grayish color. So this is a must, this part here. This is your optional. So put whatever you have in there. leftover mushrooms, like I said before, roasted red peppers would be good.
Chef, Amanda's asking if you do mushrooms in there, should they be cooked first?
So what I do is I take my frying pan, I will put oil in the frying pan, I'll fry the mushrooms off first, then put them in a bowl, just like this. And then after I do that, I would start with the recipe. So I do my onions in the oil, then I do my risotto rice, and then I'll put my mushrooms in. If you're doing dried mushrooms, you put the dried mushrooms into your broth and let it steep like you would a cup of tea. Steeping is when all the flavors of something come out and go infuse into something else. So do you see how it's getting kind of dry? I'm going to add some more broth. Stir it around. And this is 1 cup of rice. This will feed 2 people very, very well. So if I'm making this for 4 people for dinner, I would make a double recipe for enough for 2, and that will be enough for side dishes. But I love to have this as a main course. Maybe if mom and dad are making like ossobuco or chicken cacciatore, that would be lovely. This is a base. So stir. And if you're putting something in at the end, you want to make sure it's cooked. So if you have roasted chicken, obviously that'll be pre-cooked. If you're doing seafood, I would put it in sort of halfway through. Seafood only takes a minute or 2 to cook. Does everyone have a favorite ingredient? Broccoli would be good in here. Roasted cauliflower.
I make mine with lemon zest and roasted Brussels sprout leaves.
Yum.
And I just fold that in at the very end with a really good grating of lemon zest and a little bit of olive oil, really good olive oil to finish, and of course some Parmesan cheese, some butter. Anyhow, I love the combination of the lemon zest in the risotto. It just totally brightens it up.
Sounds pretty good.
With a good glass of wine, of course. Not for the kids, but for the mom.
You can have sparkling apple juice with this. This would be perfect for sparkling apple juice. And you could add in some sparkling apple juice if you have leftover. Let's say the night before you're having a nice dinner and you guys are having sparkling apple juice. The first addition you can add into it will give a bit of an apple flavor. So I can see that I'm about 60% done. I still have probably maybe 40% of my broth here to go. So soon I'm going to start tasting it to see. Why am I tasting it? Well, I'm tasting to see how the salt content is in case this boils off too much. And this here, let's say this gets too salty. What's happening is the water's evaporating off of it. Put a little bit of water into it and we'll balance out that salt.
Chef, can you lift that up? I just want to show how creamy that's getting.
Can you see that? Look at that. Now there is no butter in here yet. There's no cream in here. So this is a little bit lighter recipe. Do you see sort of that murkiness? That's all the starch that's coming out of the rice. Beautiful. And everyone likes their risotto differently. Some people like what they call a longue, where they put it on a plate, it sort of spreads on the plate. Some people like it a little bit stiffer. Be careful because when you're adding in the cream in the end, and this is an option. So if you're not adding in the cream, you're going to most definitely use almost all of your broth. If you take a look, it's quite a bit of broth. It's 3 cups of broth to half a cup. So it's 6 to 1 when you're making this of liquid. Rice triples, pasta doubles. So this was just this much rice, just tiny little bit. And it makes all of this. When you go to a restaurant, this is very expensive. But you can see how easy this is to make. And it's so good. So getting back to the cream, they're both liquid, so you have to decide, do you want it creamy or do you want it more liquidy, sort of like brothy? Stir this around. And I want to make sure now, let's say, and it's happened to me before, it sticks on the bottom and it starts to burn. You really don't scrape that burnt bit in. Dump it to a clean frying pan. Taste it. If it tastes burnt, it's like a math equation. You have to start all over again. But if it doesn't, just soak the frying pan and finish off the risotto. So I'm giving you guys all the little tips and tricks just in case something goes wrong. And this is real life, things go wrong every once in a while. I love the creaminess of this. I'm giving it a little freesia too. And a little more broth. And my broth needs to be warm. If your broth isn't warm, it's going to take a lot longer because what happens is you add cold broth, you cool it down, and it has to come back up to temperature. So I'm going to taste this to see about salt and about pepper. And you can see how just creamy it is and beautiful. And I'm going to take a little piece of that rice too. Excuse me. It's about 80% done. Keep on stirring it around. If by chance it's too salty even in the end, the cream will help. The butter we're using is salted butter. If you think it's too salty, then add in unsalted butter. You could finish it off with olive oil if you want to, but I love the butter. Whatever you happen to have at home. Don't finish it off with canola oil because it's just not adding in any flavor.
If you're going to use an olive oil, chef, this would be a really great time to use one of the flavored olive oils, you know, like in
the end.
Yeah.
So I would finish it off in the end with a flavor. So this is where you get something that's a little bit nicer because you're going to really be able to taste it. You saute with usually regular olive oil, and I would finish off with extra virgin because it's got a brighter, greener flavor. And every olive oil tastes different. Some of them are peppery, some of them are more grassy, some of them are earthy flavored. I'm going to add a little more broth. And now I'm going to start thinking about finishing techniques. So I still have maybe a ladle and a half of broth, but I'm going to add in that cream. So I might just sort of hold off on that broth now.
Chef, Lori wants to know, how do you know by tasting it when it's done?
If it's crunchy, it's not done. You don't want it to be mushy where it falls apart. And think about, even though I said it takes 18 to 22 minutes, you know, it's rice, you're watching it, it'll plump up, it'll double in size, it'll actually triple in size, it'll plump up. You'll just taste it, and you'll be able to tell. So take 4 or 5 spoons to try it. So after about 15, 16 minutes, try it. Every 30 seconds or a minute later, and you'll be able to taste it. If it's raw, you'll know it's totally crunchy on the inside. If it's overcooked, it'll be mushy. Keep in mind, there's also something called carryover time. So once I put it onto the plate here, it's still going to be hot, steamy, it's still going to be cooking. I would serve this in a European soup bowl. European soup bowl looks like a plate, and if I took the plate and push the bottom down, that's what it looks like. And that looks really pretty. I've served this in mason jars before, that's really cute. If you're doing this for a picnic. Risotto is perfect because you can use it for spring, for summer, for winter, for fall. So we're using spring vegetables. If I'm doing this for winter time, maybe I'll do roasted potatoes and put in here roasted butternut squash, like I said before, zucchini, something that's a little bit richer and heavier. If you want to fool all your friends, if you put a whole bunch of roasted butternut squash in here, stir it around, it goes bright orange, it looks like it's filled with cheese. So I'm going to try it again to see. I'm done this. It doesn't need that much longer. So what I'm going to do now, I'd say it's about 4 minutes away from being finished. This extra broth that's left over, I'll use it for soup another day. I'm going to add in my corn, and I want to warm this up. And frozen veggies are great because frozen veggies are packed and picked at the peak of perfection. It makes them perfect. So they're going to be nice and sweet. So I'm warming up those beautiful peas in here and that corn. I'm going to turn this a little bit lower because I'm going to start finishing up this risotto. Now, Once again, like I said before, I have the choice. I can add the broth in or the cream. I'm going to add in the cream.
Is that whipping cream, Chef?
This is whipping cream. You can use low-fat cream if you want, or like 10% if you wanted to. And now you'll see, can you guys take a look at the color change? So that's without the cream in it. That's with the cream in it. It'll go lighter in color. And it's still kind of soupy. We're going to finish it off. Now, I told you about something called monté au beurre, which means melting with butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the butter into here. And as we're adding the butter in, we're going to sort of be shaking the pan around. That's going to form something called an emulsification. It's when two things that don't normally come together will come together. I'm going to add a pinch of black pepper. And I think it's pretty good on salt, so I'm not going to add any salt into here. I've got my plate for plating. I've got some roasted peppers. That wasn't in the recipe, just looks pretty. I'm going to cook this a little more. And sometimes you kind of have to do the hokey pokey with cooking. So with the stove, turn it up and turn it down. You're the boss of the stove. The stove isn't the boss of you.
Have you ever made risotto in the oven, Chef?
I hear you can do it, but I like to be stirring and cooking. I think you could probably do it.
Yeah, it's not the same, but I've
No.
seen it done. Yep.
I guess it would turn out like a pilaf, probably.
Mm.
No,
It doesn't get as creamy because you're
No.
not stirring it. So stirring it agitates the starch on the rice.
So it breaks apart a little bit, starch off the batter on the rice, and it makes it nice and creamy, even without adding the cream into it. If you don't want to add cream into it, and you still want it nice and rich, you can add coconut cream into it. That would be lovely. And that will make it from Italian to more of a tropical.
So it could be vegan if you use the coconut cream.
Yep, of course it could be. And then what I would do is I would use the liquid, so if you open up a can of coconut, on the top is the cream and on the bottom is the coconut water. I would use the coconut water in here to give that lovely coconut flavor. And instead of finishing it off with my butter, I would finish it off with the coconut cream on the top, which is lovely.
This is perfect comfort food for a rainy day like today.
Mm-hmm. So did anyone guess what was invented today?
Yes.
Should I tell you? Did anyone guess?
She guessed it right, yep.
Really?
Yep.
What was it?
Hang on. Deborah guessed that it was jeans.
Yep, jeans were invented today. Do you know the date, Deborah? Did you put down the date? I think it was 1826. I can't quite remember. So at this point here, I know that my risotto looks really beautiful. I'm going to taste it for the last time. And I'm going to add my butter into here. I'm probably not going to add all that butter, but you could if you wanted to. That was a big bite. That was delicious. I'm going to add the butter in. I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to add the butter, and I've cut it up into little cubes here. And I'm going to agitate it like this. This is called monté au beurre, which means melting it with butter. This is going to give it richness, and extra deliciousness. You don't need to do this. This is just...
Risotto's not diet food, obviously.
No, but you could make it healthier by not adding in the cream and not adding in the butter. But they're all natural anyway, so you're getting your calcium for the day. And you're going to mix this in until you can't see that butter anymore. You still see it there?
Chef, Lori wants to make sure you're using a clean spoon every time you try it.
I am. I've got, just so you know, I have 3 spoons. Yes, I am. At home, you can double dip if it's just for yourself. So the last little bit is going to be decorating, adding some cheese at the end, and eating. So that's done, and you can see that it's a little bit runny. That's okay. As that steam evaporates, it's going to stiffen up. So I'm going to put this on my plate.
Did you stir in the cheese, Chef?
No, I'm going to put the cheese in at the top and the end. I think it's just too pretty to stir in. So there's my risotto. And look how much we have left over, so this is enough for 2 people. I'm gonna put some red peppers on top. This is just roasted red pepper from a jar. It just makes it look pretty. I have some Parmesan cheese. You can put ricotta cheese on top if you like. Parmesan cheese. And then I'm just gonna decorate it with a little bit of that tarragon. Just something pretty like that. So that, and maybe I'll put a little bit of black pepper, just to finish it off. So next week, don't forget we're going to be making our tacos or fish tacos. Look how delicious. And look how much you have left over. So you have enough for you and mom, and so that's what 2 recipes make. So this makes enough for 2 people. This is what I made today. So you can make it for 1, you can make it for 4.
So
go ahead.
Sorry, Chef. So what's cooking next week?
So next week we are going to make the fish tacos. I'm going to show you guys how to bread and fry. They're going to be delicious. We're going to also be making a corn and black bean salad / salsa to put on top of it. It's going to be delicious. If you can't find black beans, you can substitute a different type of bean. The corn is kind of going to make it sweet and delicious, and hopefully it'll be more springy outside for that. I hope you guys have had a lovely week with me this week, and please let me know what you want me to make, not for next week, but the week after. If you can't find the rice in your grocery store, they sell it here at Well Seasoned, so you can buy either one. They're the same price. Doesn't matter which one you buy. I'm using this one today. You don't want to use regular, everyday rice. This is what you want to use. And sometimes you'll say on the side, of course this is in Italian, it'll say perfect for risotto arborio rice. So that's what we're going to be using. That's what today. If anyone has any other questions, you can post them on the thread, and I would be more than happy to answer them a little bit later on this evening. And I hope that everyone had a lovely time. And I will see you guys next week at 11:30 for Hump Day with Chef Helena here in the beautiful well-seasoned kitchen. And we're going to be making our fish tacos. So have a lovely week. Be kind, be good, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Chef. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See you tomorrow night, hopefully for Chef Dennis's class. If not, we'll see you next week here on Wednesday with Chef Helena at 11:30.
Taco Wednesday.
Have a great day.
Bye.